He's at arena on campus.
Okay.
Whatever they call it, I don't. It's a fabulous old place. There aren't many of these left. But no, I'm not bitter at you. I'm just mad. I just feel like, one of the highlights of my week is over. And I know why it's over. I predicted that this would happen because when they told me you were going to be a professor of any kind at Missouri, I said, he'll do something so well that they'll want him to do other things. And when they want him to do other things, he's not going to be able to do the show every week for an hour because a lot of things come up when you have different duties, and he'll be responsible enough. And I think it's not as good a prediction as my John Schneider prediction, but it's pretty good.
What was your John Schneider prediction?
Be the greatest mistake in the history of the Green Bay Packers to not have somehow found a way to bring him back in the family after he left to go to Seattle. Someone else will have to do the story because there are various times where it would have been possible. I know he left. He couldn't be given the GM job then because Ted was there. But, when was Ted sick? What was in his contract that he'd come back? And as I said, most recently, he was a finalist for the job as president. Now, if you think he isn't a viable candidate for president, you know what? You don't make him a finalist. We're just going to put him in there because he's good friends with John Anderson. So he's already 3 Super Bowls ahead of the Packers since he left. And there'll be more. And it will go down as the greatest mistake in the history of the Green Bay Packers because no one player can be more important than that. Maybe they could have drafted Montana. Maybe they could have, even Barry Sanders. If they had drafted Barry Sanders instead of Mandrich, I will defer to you. The organization was such a mess, they probably wouldn't have gotten the Super Bowl then. So now I've stated my tweet.
Okay.
I wanted it done now, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Now you'll never get him back, right? Now you'll never get him back.
I don't know, probably not, but I wanted to know, and I ask you because you will say, and have said before, you need a governor. Now, do I need a governor on that comment or not? John Anderson, take it away.
I don't know how close he was when Ted left, whether it was when they promoted Goody, when Russ Ball came in. So I'm not sure I have all the inner workings there. But clearly, since he has been there, he's had unbelievable success. McDonald, the coach, had said when he had the chance, all his buddies in the NFL said, you got to go work for that guy, right? And word of mouth is whether you're getting GMs or where to eat down the road. Your Yelp reviews are pretty good within the NFL, so that was nice.
And he's a local kid. That. You grew up there. He went to De Pere Abbott Pennings.
Well, how about that? Both GMs were a product of the Catholic school system in Green Bay. Is pretty nice between Wolf over there at Notre Dame, which, as everyone knows, is really Promontory, and the other guy at Abbott Pennings, which is a school that's been knocked down and gone. But we had both GMs on each side that had these strong Packer and Green Bay roots. It was pretty incredible.
And he was a kid who just wanted to work. And he got a job as an intern. I think he probably was a student at St. Thomas at that time. Or, the fact that there's just, I need your help because I have to move on. I can't. And part of the problem is Goody and LaFleur, even though you're not, there's no argument that they're pretty good or good. We know what bad is. We've lived it.
Yeah.
They're good, but I don't think they're good enough. So
I don't know. Yeah, pretty good. I don't know that pretty good wins you a lot of championships.
Right. It took Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf was great, historically great, even before he came to Green Bay.
Yeah.
And Ted Thompson was good enough, brought in by Ron Wolf, to win a Super Bowl with a great pick of Aaron Rodgers and putting a good defense together. And now they're still good, but
But let's say, okay, let's be super optimistic.
Yes.
Let's say that we brought everybody back. The band is together. We're gonna make one more album, and it goes double platinum. They win the Super Bowl. How much do we change our view of things? If it happens?
Everything. Then
everything changed.
Well, yeah, yes. And that's out of respect for how hard it is to do. Yeah, Goody becomes almost exactly the same as Ted Thompson. What? He made a great choice as a quarterback when they didn't need one, and he won a Super Bowl. And LaFleur won a Super Bowl. He's the equal of McCarthy and probably the equal of Holmgren, or close to it. Yeah, you're in the club. Now they just drive around the neighborhood and have to show ID to go in.
They drive down all these streets with people's names on them that have won a championship, but
right.
not theirs.
And part of that big a change is, and I will defer to you on this, it speaks to how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. I mean, when the Packers had this incredible team with Brett Favre, and they needed good special teams. I don't know. They might have won it without Desmond Howard. I don't know. Probably not. And they needed the best defense along with the best offense. Brett Favre wasn't enough with Aaron Rodgers and all. I mean, history will say, and it does when looking at numbers, that LaFleur blew it the first couple years when he had Rodgers, because that seems to be when coaches get their Super Bowl. It's early in their run rather than late. What is it? No one's won one after an 8th year, but one guy or something?
Other than Madden, yeah, after year whatever, 7 of them.
And you have to go look at Madden's career. You know why it took that long for Madden?
Yeah, he had to go through the Dolphins and the Steelers.
No, right, and he was the worst playoff coach ever until then. He lost like 7 straight conference championships. Now, we know how great the teams were that he faced, but he was like 0-6. What?
I said, yeah, he did, but he didn't beat a bunch of. He wasn't beating a bunch of plumbers.
Correct. No, it was a bad time. It was a tough time, and but he still got one.
Right, but that's like saying, look at Don Nelson. Was he a great coach? Yes. Did he have to go through the Sixers and the Celtics all the time? Yeah. I mean, at some point you run into that, and you're cursed with that. And I think that's what Madden was.
He never even got to the finals, and Don Nelson was so good, he got Bill Finch fired by sweeping the Boston Celtics when they had Larry Bird. I think it was best of 5 then. He swept them. Boston was so mad they fired him and brought in Casey Jones, and it just happened to be the year that the Sixers added Moses Malone. Sixers didn't win diddly with Dr. J and all his teammates until they brought in Moses Malone, and that's when it was what? Did you ever enter him for the famous full or whatever he called it?
Yes, which ended up being 4-5-4 because the Bucks got a game.
Correct.
Off.
Charlie Chris. You can look that name up. Had one great game.
I remember the little
But
guard.
if they had if Philly had not picked up Moses Malone, Nelson might have been able to I don't know.
So my point is just sometimes you run into things. I don't know that LaFleur has run into any of those teams in his time.
He has not.
At any point. So
no.
And the reason I ask if one changes the whole dynamic is because the further we go away, people go, oh, how'd they only win one Super Bowl with Brett Favre? Oh, how did they only win one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? Because now all of a sudden that becomes a strike against those guys because, Joe Montana won 4 and Brady skewed the whole thing.
Yeah, Drew Brees only won 1. Peyton Manning only won 1 until he stole one late with Denver. I mean, their quarterbacks that didn't win any. Yeah. I would say, yes, they didn't win or should have won more than 1. But we know this. You only need 1 to be in the club. And when you're in the club, maybe 2 add something, but you just got to make the club. Ask Doc Rivers.
I would argue that, as my good friend Bill Peter used to say, 2 is a lot more than 1 more than 1.
Yes.
And he was speaking about kids at that point, but I think it works for Lombardi trophies as well.
Well, I would say 1 is worth 1,000. The second one is maybe, what do you say? Are you saying the second one is 2,000? I don't think so. Because the difference between 0 and 1 is way bigger than 1 and 2.
Yes, but I do think adding a second one is significant.
Yes, it is.
That puts you in a spot that's
No, you can be a fart in the
takes out-
wind.
Right. You didn't. It's hard to luck into anything, but you can be kind of fluky. You can have things go your way, and
I don't think you can be
generally
fluky.
not.
I would disagree with that. I think things can go your way that year, yes. But when the Packers won it, things went their way that year. They didn't have to play Dallas, and Denver was actually the favorite, equal or above the Packers, and they got upset by, was it Jacksonville, I think? I can't remember who it was. Somebody.
Yeah. Yes, because you can go through a lot of them, right? Like the Packers, the year they win with Favre, they played, was it a second-year Carolina franchise?
Yeah.
Terry Collins. I don't know that that's a murderer's row to get in. That's not the 70s.
And the next year they did, and they got New England, they said, instead of the best team in the AFC, and then they had to face them the next year, Denver. Denver beat them.
So I was just curious to see how many, what kind of ills it would cure if they go ahead and win. Because I would change my opinion of Matt LaFleur for sure.
I am
right
learning
now,
and I didn't used to believe
coach.
this. I will defer to you on the value of just getting to the Super Bowl. There is some value there that I never appreciated years ago because, as I learned with Marquette going to the Final Four when Kansas beat them by 1,000, you have to have great things occur to get to that, to get to the Super Bowl. You have to have a big win to get there, and that's memorable. So I used to think it meant almost nothing, but I think historically it now is still of a little value. What would you say? What's the value? What's the value to LaFleur and Goody if they get to the Super Bowl but lose?
Then I can justify that they had a multi-year extension. Congratulations! We'll add another year on for you. You can keep going on.
Hold on. That's a great trivia question. Is the multi-year extension justified, or what's the word? Proved accurate if
Validated?
they get to a Super Bowl? What?
Validated?
Yes, whatever, Pebble. That'll be the question. Is the contract extension for Goody and LaFleur validated, unless you can come up with a better word that's not Ivy League or Missouri? Justified? Appropriate? The right decision? Was the contract extension a right decision, the correct decision, if they get to a Super Bowl but don't win? How about that? Professor, does that meet your approval, or do you want validated in there?
It's fine. I think whatever people understand the question. Is it laid out?
The question.
Yeah.
And what's your
getting to the Super Bowl?
Since we have Jason Wilde coming up, what would be your vote on that?
Yes.
I would say yes as well, assuming it's 3, not if it's 8. But yes.
True. and if they fail again, then will they like? All right, well, that's good. We paid for the same thing again.
Yeah, right. If you get to the Super Bowl, you get 3 more years after that, right?
Oh, you get whatever's on there. I will roll over the year.
You won't extend it then?
I'll roll over the year you just had. Yep, I'll tack another year on there. I'll just roll it over.
Just a little salt before we get to Jason Wilde. Now, if they won the Super Bowl, they get another 5 years.
Well, they get a street named after them, and then they get that's fine. Sure.
You'd bring him in as a guest. Would you bring him in as a guest for your classes?
LaFleur?
Well, no,
yeah.
Both of them.
Oh, sure.
If they win the Super Bowl,
have them come on down.
What if they don't win the Super Bowl? What if they get to the Super Bowl but don't win?
No, I don't know that that'll work. Then I'll just bring in another famous Mizzou grad. Then I'll bring in Wright Thompson.
Or you'd bring him in only if your alternative was a Kansas person.
Listen, I'm a good guy. Jeff Long's coming into the class. Jeff Long was the former athletic director at KU. He's coming into the class. So,
and this destroys your image.
Well, he's going to explain to me how they reached the détente and figured out how they got the series started again after Bill Self said no. So now that he's left there, he's he can speak freely about his time, and I think he will. I don't know that he loves the institution, so I think it'll be good.
I ask one favor of you. If he drives his car, you or someone must flatten one tire.
Just let
Take
a little
all
air
the air
out
of one tire. Yes.
Yeah.
That will be the follow-up I'm going to check.
I'm sure I have a decal that will make its way onto his bumper. Sure.
That's good enough.
So,
Jason
but he
Wilde
was
and
smart
John
enough
Anderson.
to send his daughter here. So he was smart enough to send his daughter to school here.
Okay. You have already come up with the appropriate information that you knew I would demand. So you've spent some time covering yourself. Does he know all the things you've done as far as your hate for Kansas? Is he aware of all those things, or do I need to send him a letter?
No, I think when I found out Christina, his daughter, went here, I'd sent him a note and a couple of texts that just said, good that she was able to
all right,
escape the hell that is Lawrence and get to come over here and, some good sense. And it's kind of like I was really nice before the game to Lance Leipold. I sent him a note. I said, man, it's great the series is back. And good luck to you, and I hope we win by 100.
Yeah, you've covered yourself. Yeah, I should have known the little sugar you have. You can throw it in there, but that salt's still a salt shaker that is overflowing. Jason Wilde with John Anderson next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Things are improving on the roads after the morning commute. We are looking at one incident on 175 north at the ramp from 94 westbound. Could see some lane closures there due to debris in the road, so be aware of that. But otherwise, things are moving pretty smoothly across the system. Traffic is brought to you by the Neal Group. John Neal and his team know how to minimize your taxes to keep more money in your pocket. Visit nealgroup.net to learn more. That's nealgroup.net. Your storm team forecast: partly cloudy, breezy, mild, a high of 37. Tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 23. On Wednesday, mostly sunny, high 32. And on Thursday, mostly cloudy, high 33 degrees. This report is brought to you by Safe Plow. When winter hits Wisconsin, Safe Plow keeps driveways and businesses clear with no tolerance snow removal. They handle the blizzard so you can handle your business. Visit safeplow.com. In the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Steph Graham on 94.5 ESPN.
On this show, it's always football season.
I would have liked to have seen the process go a little bit longer. I would have loved to have seen them evaluate. And then if it still comes back Gannon, great.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It did feel like there was maybe a little bit of a push. If you don't bring him in and get him done now, he's going somewhere else.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
And ESPN Radio Extra Point with Chris Canty.
It's about the value proposition. The Seattle Seahawks moved off of Geno Smith. Why? Because Geno wanted a new contract. They didn't want to give it to him. They moved off of Russell Wilson. Why? Because Russell Wilson wanted a contract. They didn't want to give it to him. And what that allowed John Snyder, their general manager, to do is build out the rest of the roster with the draft picks that they were able to acquire as a result of making those moves. And those players developed into what became a good offensive line and a dominant defense. Why can't the Detroit Lions take a page out of that book? Jared Goff is not a $53 million a year quarterback. He's just not. Not at this stage in his career. Maybe he once was. Hell, maybe you could justify it when they gave him the deal a couple of years ago. But based on where he's at right now, you can't continue to commit those resources to Jared Goff and expect the Detroit Lions would be able to get to where they want to go.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Man, I love seeing the old gang at these reunions. Did you see Brian? He's in better shape than he was 25 years ago. How is that even possible?
Yep, I ran into him a few weeks ago and had to ask. He told me he started taking Eugenics Total T2.
The testosterone booster?
Yeah, but it's way more than that now. It also skyrockets your nitric oxide in as little as 3 hours. I started taking it right away, and I'm already seeing results.
I was wondering what you were doing. You seriously crushed me in that pickup game last week.
Yep, after 40, energy energy, strength, drive, it all starts going downhill. But with T2, I feel like my old self again. Stronger, leaner, and my energy is way up. My wife even noticed a difference. They're giving out complimentary bottles right now. Just send them a text.
Text ROCK to 321-321 for your complimentary bottle of new Nugenix Total T2. Text now and you'll also get a free bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator. That's ROCK to 321-321. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Product not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Calling all seafood lovers, the lobster salad sub is officially back at Cousin Subs. Fresh lobster mixed with our creamy signature mayo, topped with tomato and onion, served over crisp lettuce and finished with a sprinkle of Old Bay, all on our fresh-baked Italian bread. It's a crave-worthy classic you can enjoy in store, online, or on the app, but only through April 5th. So catch it while you can. Cousin Subs, we believe in better.
The Homer Hour is back after this on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. It's time for Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
Jason Wilde, 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year with 7.5. John Anderson. Take it away, 7.5.
How are you, Jason Wilde?
I'm not great. Not great at all.
What's going on?
Well, it's the old saying, don't cry because it's over.
Yeah.
Smile because it happened. I just, I know you're still alive and well and healthy, and that's important. And I know you'll still be a part of our Green Bay game day and whatever else. But, I enjoy Tuesdays. Not everyone gets to talk to you during the week, and I'm lucky to do that. So I will miss that. So now instead, I'm just going to randomly call you and discuss Wipeout and Stuart Scott and what other random
Just so you know, 7.5, I'm not calling you.
Well, that's the problem, Jay. Too many people actually talk to me on Tuesdays, and that's why. So I've got too many folks I got to deal with already. They're in today. Which is always the same one. Like, how do I get a job? I'm like, that's there's no magic ticket to that. Well, how do I get into this job? How do I get to this place? Well, how about this? Let's have a goal, but I don't know that we can get married to the path. We'll figure out the rest of it right there. Let's get you in the first one and figure out how to go from there. So anyway,
yeah,
I thought you were referring to that. It's. I thought you were referring to it. Yes, go ahead.
No, so I'm glad that you are still shaping young minds because, and I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, but Sydney has to do, she's our youngest, she's 14, she'll be 15 next month. She had to do her career project. That's all the freshmen at her high school have to do that every year. And she wants to follow in her dad's footsteps, allegedly. She can't interview me, so she interviewed, her two godfathers were Tom Mulhern, who passed away, and then Charles Robinson. So she has a father, sports writer / radio / TV guy, and then both of her godfathers are as well. So she apparently it's in the blood, like the John Mayer song. We'll see. Charles's first reaction was before she interviewed him was, do I talk her out of it? And I said, no, don't talk her out of it. But yeah, the business is the business right now. And so I'm glad that you're at Mizzou, keeping hope alive. And that's even more important than what we do here. So thank you for your service, and I'll stop filibustering now.
Well, no, I'll tell you, because I had two kids that came in here. They are both one kid who's actually got huge Wisconsin roots, and I had written him a letter of recommendation to be an intern with the Washington Post sports department, to which he's like, I guess that's not going to come to fruition. And then another kid in the class who grew up in the DMV, and they both were literally wrecked. Like, you wonder that if kids understand the business or what that paper was. And both these guys came in, and I thought they were going to go to tears, right? They're 22, they're graduating seniors, and you see the WAPO go down, and they're like, okay, what are we doing? And so that was tough visiting with those guys.
Yeah. Well, hopefully smarter minds than ours, which I've been waiting for a really long time, figure out that these should all be nonprofits and figure out ways to make them sustainable and not worry about being profitable. And but again, we're in a different field now, you and me, and we get to talk to Homer somewhat regularly, and what a blessing that is.
See, and I thought you were talking about what a dark time it was. That's my dad always referred to as what happens right after the Super Bowl. That's a really dark time. Until like he's like he wasn't making paper chains with how many days until training camp starts, but you could tell he was, and then this is I always tell people about growing up in Wisconsin and in Green Bay, right? Like the season's over, you still have to lead with the Packers most every day. I don't care that it's May or June 1st and there's no mini like that. Still, you got to have something. I got to have some Packers content, or I'm flipping the channel to see what's over on Channel 5.
Right, and let's be honest, the Packers are not really helping us because, I mean, at least like trot out a new assistant coach every day. Like, let's talk to Jonathan Gannon. I can only use the 40 minutes we spent with Goody largely saying nothing last Wednesday for so long before I run out of material.
Oh, hey, what should I take away from the organization itself? That the two GMs in the Super Bowl are Packer pretty much born and raised.
Yeah. I think you should take away that maybe they hired the wrong guy. But look, Goody's been a very good GM, right? I mean, I say that mostly kiddingly about hiring the wrong guy. But look, John Schneider, in his first two contracts with the Seahawks, had one out clause, and that was if he became the GM of the Packers, he was eligible to leave for that job. By the time the 2018 situation unfolded and Ted was nudged out and Goody was hired and Murphy changed the parameters of the job, right, to not being on top of all of the football operation, it was too late. That loophole had closed in his most recent extension. Now, does that mean they still couldn't have hired him and paid a draft pick to be able to do so? And I don't know if Seattle would or would not have done that. And then Elliott Wolf, I mean, I told you guys last week I was going to talk to Ron, and I talked to him for over an hour one day, and he's just so, I hope at 87 I've got my stuff together as well as he does. But, I thought what he said about Elliott was really interesting, that, the fact that it wasn't that he didn't get the job. And I had a great conversation with Elliott on Super Bowl morning when he got up at like 5 a.m. Pacific time, and we got to have a conversation. And his point was nothing is owed to you, right? That's how this business is. So he never looked at it as, them passing him over when he's a legacy and his name and everything else and what his dad did. But Ron was pissed because they told him he was too young for the job. And that's what made Ron Wolf mad. Not that he didn't get it, but the reason he didn't get it, because as he said, that's a crock. And so Elliott has gone on and, obviously had success in New England and probably benefited from being in other places. But again, it's a really hard job, right? It's like kind of like with the line that Greg Gard said after the Badgers got hosed at Indiana by the officiating. It's difficult. It's hard to officiate our game, but that play was not hard to officiate that he was talking about. And so, Goody has done a lot of good things. But at the same time, and I tend to be the guy that keeps saying this, and I hate being that guy, but I still think he's a very good GM, but he's not as good as everyone has pretended that he's been. And while he's had some good free agent signings, those were precipitated by draft misses with pretty high-profile picks, first-round, second-round picks. And now I think, to your point, because those two guys had teams in the Super Bowl, I think now it has shown a little bit more of a spotlight on Goody, and just in time for him to have this is a critical offseason. Like that 2022 draft class was such a huge part of what their starting lineups and their rosters were. And now they're going to have Devontae Wyatt for one more year. They're going to have Christian Watson for one more year, and they extend. The only guy that's got an extension from that group long term is Zach Tom, who's coming off of a ruptured patellar tendon, or at least partially torn patellar tendon. And so now you're talking about both Quay Walker and Rasheed Walker likely walking, potentially Kingsley and Egbare, potentially Sean Ryan, that Romeo Dobbs. That's a lot of snaps headed out the door. How are you going to replace those? In addition to, you need more depth on the defensive line. You need more depth at corner. And your offensive line, because of these potential departures, is very much up in the air. So this is a big offseason for Goody on the heels of two of his former colleagues getting to the Super Bowl.
Okay, but let me jump in there, because every one of those guys you mentioned were big, significant contributors, right?
Yep.
So that they have, if they walk or keep them, is that a good draft class? Is that a bad draft class? I don't know. There's a superstar in there.
I mean, there's no great players in it, right? I mean, maybe Zach Tom, right? Zach Tom, again, he's had really buzzard's luck the last 2 years with injuries, but he's an elite level player. Like they do all those colors like blue, purple, whatever. He's the only guy out of that group that you can honestly say earned the highest possible grade. Now, again, the philosophy is different. Goody with that line 2 years ago about how, on average, NFL teams re-sign 1.6 draft picks per class to second contracts. And that's where he wants to be. He does not want to be signing 3-4 guys from a draft class, even if they're deserving. The guys we just talked about in the olden days when Ted was in charge or Ron was in charge, some of those guys would have gotten extended before the season ended, right? Like Corey Lindsley got extended, and multiple times Devontae Adams did, right? And so I look at, it was a good draft class. Those guys played a lot. None of them turned out to be great players. But, what bothered me about my exchange with Goody last Wednesday was when I suggested, hey, don't you need just a couple of guys that are 30 years old? Like, not washed up 35-year-old guys, but guys that still are in their prime-ish that have a lot of experience. And his argument was, first of all, when I said, that there seems to be a line of demarcation at age 30, and he's like, no, there's no line of demarcation. Okay, well, look at your roster. You tell me why I would think that. But on top of that, like he said, well, we want to draft guys and then have them become those guys. Okay, but then if you're not going to re-sign most of this draft class, then you're doing neither, right? You're not bringing guys in that are older, and you're not keeping guys that are maturing into that role. So then you're perpetually young, and then you have the immaturity of, say, the playoff loss to the Bears, where you don't handle the success of having an 18-point lead, and then you also don't handle the adversity of it disappearing and giving up 25 points in the fourth quarter. So again, I think it's not unreasonable to say that Brian Gutekunst is a good to very good GM who maybe could benefit from tweaking his approach ever so slightly. And that has not happened to this point. I don't know if he will. But again, you look at their free agent signings. I mean, just the really, really good ones, right? Like Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. Well, you signed Josh Jacobs because the guy that you drafted to be your next starting running back, A.J. Dillon, wasn't good enough, right? And you signed Xavier McKinney because the first-round pick in 2019, in addition to Rashawn Gary, was Darnell Savage, a safety, the first safety taken in that draft. And clearly, he wasn't good enough. And so, again, their approach puts so much added pressure on drafting well. And then when you have a good draft like the 2022 draft and you choose to let most of them walk, which I think is what's going to happen, then that doubles down on the pressure of, hey, we can't miss on too many picks. And if you look at from 2019 through 2025, there's been enough misses that's why they weren't playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday.
So I have always looked at this with, it looks like, because my bias right now comes from I don't think the head coach is good enough. So I look at this as it appears he's got enough playoff talent. We keep every once in a while midseason saying that group could go to the Super Bowl, but they don't. To me, that's a coaching problem. I hear you talk now, and I think, okay, maybe LaFleur's a genius to do what he's done with the roster he's handed. And maybe those are hand in glove, and that can't be separated. They're cleaved together. But am I looking at this wrong then in saying this is a LaFleur problem and not a Goody problem?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is why I am outside the norm of sports radio, right? Because Homer, as much as Homer and I can occasionally butt heads, and yes, I know he's still there listening, he's the GOAT. And it's largely, at least in part, he's the GOAT because he has smart opinions, and he defends them usually pretty brilliantly. Not always, but most of the time. I'm always the guy that's saying, well, it's a combination of a number of factors, right? It's never one thing, right? And so I look at Matt LaFleur and say he hasn't coached well enough in big games. He definitely deserves criticism for that. At the same time, like, you keep having the youngest roster in the league, and I don't care if you keep saying, well, they're young, but they're not inexperienced. Well, they are inexperienced when it comes to the biggest moments, right? Like in 2016, when you got to have it to go beat the Cowboys in Dallas to reach the NFC Championship game, you got a bunch of dudes, man, that have all been there, done that. And that's why Aaron Rodgers, who is the dudest of the dudes in that equation, is able to draw up something in the dirt to make that throw to Jared Cook to pick up the first down and keep that drive going to go kick the game-winning field goal. It's why in the Bears game in 2013, you've got a bunch of guys that have played in the Super Bowl and played in big playoff games and went undefeated for the first 13 weeks of the 2011 season, that when the chips are on the table, you can pick up 3 fourth downs and then you can hit Randall Cobb for the game-winning touchdown. Like, those moments come from having been there and potentially failed, which they did at times as well. So, again, I don't disagree with the overarching approach that the general manager takes. I don't disagree that the head coach is a really smart guy who's a good offensive mind, a very good offensive mind, who has really good connectivity with his players, because he's not an egotistical, old-school guy that's going to say, we do things my way. And it all comes together, but when the biggest moments are there, either they don't have that guy that gets the job done for them in that moment, or the coach doesn't rise to the moment, or both. And that's why we're sitting here, heading into the 2026 offseason without them having been to a Super Bowl since the 2010 team went.
And you can't blame the GM because he no longer has the responsibility of the players and the coach, and you can judge him on the whole thing now. They're two separate entities, and somebody else has to judge. And
yeah, you're not. I mean, again, I know, Homer, you got to go, but I think to your point, you do judge them absolutely on the players, and then you have to obviously judge Ed Policy on the decisions on who to keep in terms of as the leadership.
Right. He clearly likes them both. Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys. Take care. Be good.
Jason Wilde, all Packers all the time. Yeah, 7-2.5 is leaving. But one thing that won't change, I'll be saying 7-2.5 for a lot longer than however long we do this show. You're 7-2.5 forever. I'm thinking of even maybe a full-page ad in, the Columbia Express? What's the paper in Columbia? The Columbia Herald?
There's the Columbia Missourian and the Columbia Daily Tribune. We're still a two-paper town. We're a dinosaur.
All right, which is the best one? Or which is the worst one so I get it the cheapest? The Missourian's the biggest one?
Missouri's the good one.
When it shows up, you'll know who did it.
Well, yeah, you don't want to do that. We got to get you off this thing, dude.
And it will be this. John Anderson is 7-2.5. You ask him why. I want 1,000 people to ask you. Next quarter with John Anderson. Quarter third, next.
The Homer Hour is back after this on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Things are improving on the roads after the morning commute. We are looking at one incident on 175 north at the ramp from 94 westbound. Could see some lane closures there due to debris in the road, so be aware of that. But otherwise, things are moving pretty smoothly across the system. Traffic is brought to you by the Neal Group. John Neal and his team know how to minimize your taxes to keep more money in your pocket. Visit nealgroup.net to learn more. That's nealgroup.net. Your storm team forecast: partly cloudy, breezy, mild, a high of 37. Tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 23. On Wednesday, mostly sunny, high 32. And on Thursday, mostly cloudy, high 33 degrees. This report is brought to you by Safe Plow. When winter hits Wisconsin, Safe Plow keeps driveways and businesses clear with no tolerance snow removal. They handle the blizzard so you can handle your business. Visit safeplow.com. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Steph Graham on 94.5 ESPN.
All Brewers tickets for the 2026 season are on sale Thursday, February 12th. This year, it all kicks off at our house with opening day at home, followed up with a schedule that's absolutely loaded. Throw in the same flair for the dramatic thrills on any given night. Plus Brewers giveaways you won't forget. And you've got a season you're going to have to see to believe. Don't miss a second of Brewers action this year. The crew is back for more starting February 12th at Brewers.com.
Real James Imaging Systems clients. You've heard them right here on the radio for years. For instance, Chris Willems, office manager with Previent Law Firm.
I like the fact that the company is local and I can always get a hold of my representative who I have on speed dial or I have a cell phone.
Then there's James Imaging Systems client Preston Clark, who oversees IT services at Creative Business Interiors.
If I do need service, they're here almost within 4 hours every time. I've never had an issue where I'm like, where is that guy?
James Imaging Systems business technology client Lori Salzman, Vice President of Enterprise Services at Junior Achievement of Wisconsin.
I've never met an organization that is so responsive to make sure that we are up and running all the time for us to be more efficient and allow us to focus more on the work that we do for helping young people.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. To learn more, visit jamesimaging.com.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
According to American writer H.L. Mencken, a well-stocked bar can create over 17 billion different cocktails. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. I don't know if 17 billion is accurate or not, but I do know that Discount Liquor is the place to find everything you need to be well-stocked for any occasion. Discount Liquor is Wisconsin's home to over 2,000 varieties of beer, 3,500 types of liquor, and over 8,000 wines. Our unparalleled selection is rivaled only by our incredible savings and everyday low prices. And we know how to take care of our customers, no matter the occasion. In fact, Discount Liquor has won numerous national and local awards. Visit Discount Liquor at our Milwaukee or Waukesha locations. Family owned and operated since 1960.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
In Milwaukee on 51st in Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha on Main and Barstow. Check out our specials at discountliquorinc.com.
The pursuit of fair wages and top-of-the-line benefits is achieved when the right union has your back. The Sheet Metal Workers Labor Union is extremely diverse, representing Wisconsinites working HVAC, architectural metals, welding, specialty fabrication, and much more. Make great living wages with outstanding benefits, pensions, and apprenticeship programs in trained, safe working environments. The Sheet Metal Workers Union is a leading force in the revitalization of the labor movement in Wisconsin.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Founded by investors, fueled by community, and focused on business for 130 years, Horicon Bank has helped Wisconsin businesses grow, doing banking differently since 1896. Today, that same local approach is now part of the Milwaukee business community, bringing decision-making closer to the people who matter most. You. Financing requests approved in days, not weeks. Bankers who understand your business. Products designed to support real cash flow needs. Because when it comes to commercial lending, Horicon Bank gets the job done together, doing well for 130 years. I haven't even been doing Marquette basketball for that long. It is the John Anderson Homer Hour, 7-2.5 himself, professor at Missouri. All right, I need your help on this. I've kind of alluded to it before. and we're here at Villanova, and they show all the retired jerseys. Okay, retired jersey is like saying a stock owner is one of the owners of the Packers. Okay, every player who has ever played for Villanova has a retired jersey. You could be a walk-on. You could never play. You have a retired jersey. How are you honoring someone by saying they have a retired jersey? Just like all those people that bought stock in the Green Bay Packers to help the Packers, they are no more an owner than the cat going down the street next to Lambeau Field at 3 in the morning. Take it away, 7-2.5. I need your answer because this is your last show.
Well, if you retired the number, then I think it matters. I think you have shown that you are significant in being honored, that no one else will wear that number.
That's what they used to do. And Duke started it the other way by discovering they have so many players that you wouldn't have any numbers left. Now I think you can have any numbers, so you probably do have enough numbers yet, but not everybody wants to wear 49 or 52 or whatever. So I understand the problem.
When did refs get so smart that they could then do like 77? Because remember, you could only go up to 5 because that's all you could do.
Nicely done. Nicely done, old-timer.
And the other thing...
So I think you put people in the Hall of Fame fine. You leave their jersey out of it. Marquette has 22, and then another 22, and a third 22 playing on the team.
Yeah, so then you shouldn't do that. But listen, you wanted Crean's number in the rafters, whatever the hell number that is.
I wanted Crean's name in the rafters, yes. And I'm glad they did it long overdue. And I would have put under their Final Four. You realize Marquette has been in one Final Four in 50 years. You do something in this school or any school that's been done once in 50 years, you're going up on the banner, unless it's something bad. Okay, once in 50 years. I would put Marcus Howard up there for scoring 40 points and a half. You score 40 points and a half, we're putting your name up there the next day.
So I feel like they've been to 2-49 if my math is right. Right? 77 they won, that's 23 and 29. Yeah, so they've been to 2-49.
It's going to be 1 in 50 years very soon.
I do think, like the Duke thing, like at some point you got to be selective. Just because you're an All-American, like that's what you're expected to be at those places. I think you have to do something of significance. I feel like you have to make a change in the program, right? Look at the Packers. They got a lot of Hall of Famers. They didn't retire everybody's number. You got to be of significance there. But I think if you do truly honor them, yeah, you can't retire the jersey. You have to retire their number. I make that distinction between the two. And then I think we're too quick to that. Like, I'm down on these people naming courts all the time, right? Like, Roy Williams has got a court. Eddie Sutton's got a court. Is Al McGuire the court? Is the court named after Al?
I should know that. It might be. That tells you how bad I am. I didn't know Marcus Howard's number, so I don't feel too bad.
Like,
they got the Al McGuire Center.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, what do you... Like, God bless the guy. Like, Kansas has got Fogg Allen, and I don't know if they named the court after anybody. But, like, what does that leave Bill Self? The guy's going to win more games than anybody, but we decided we wanted to really make sure we honored...
No, I can solve you that. And this is where I would make the distinction. Now, I would be, you just call it the Hall of Fame. It's not retired jersey, but you get a statue. I think statues are special. So that's how I make the distinction. Bill Self deserves a statue. Herb Cole deserves a statue. You got to be... I want to put you in charge of the statue division in American sports. Who should get a statue? You call 7-2.5.
I'm trying to think what I could do to deface a Bill Self statue or anybody. Like, just would I go paint black and gold?
Hold on. John Anderson is the national expert other than Kansas. You are not allowed to comment on Kansas.
Yeah. Like, would you paint it? Would you, like, Missouri, if you had Missouri? Because they have one school out here, and I don't know that we guard it in Kansas.
I'll let you think about it. I got to do this. I got to talk about this, partner. You think about how you would honor Kansas if you were, and I want to be the national expert on who gets a statue in sports. Milwaukee Weight Loss. And again, know the website, MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. I started doing it the first of the year. People told me about it, and they said it works. And it does. I've lost 20 pounds. Milwaukee Weight Loss works. I can tell you the specifics of how they do it. I can tell you, most importantly, this Valentine's month, Milwaukee Weight Loss is sharing the love with $300 off during our Valentine's sale now through the end of February on the 28th. But the key to me, and I know this because I've heard from diets, and I go, they're too hard. Somebody told me this one works. He almost said it's easy. It works. I've been on it for, 2.5 weeks, whatever? Down 20 pounds. It works. MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. And get all the particulars they'll tell you. No crazy workouts, no prepackaged meals. But most importantly, if you believe me and I tell you it works, you'll go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Final fourth quarter with 7-2.5. Next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. On this show, it's always football season.
I'm not overly concerned because it seems as if Green Bay's not overly concerned.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Everybody over there feels like this team was there. We got short-circuited with injuries. We have the right staff, we have the right people, and we have the right players. We just need to stay healthy, and we'll be champions.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
The old line from the great song by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is, "The waiting is the hardest part." Well, that line is really going to take a lot of significance involving the New England Patriots, because that waiting will be the hardest part, trying to recover from what happened to them Sunday night at the hands of the Seattle Seahawks. I think it would have been a lot worse for the Patriots if they were in the same position the Detroit Lions were, where they were the better team in that NFC Championship game not too long ago against San Francisco, let it get away. 49ers go to the Super Bowl, and I don't think Detroit's even recovered from that, even though they're the best record in the NFL the next year, but they were a playoff flameout, and then this year, they didn't even make the playoffs. The New England Patriots have a right kind of mix of veterans and youth. They have the right kind of coach in Mike Vrabel, and Elliott Wolf has done a fantastic job as a player personnel director putting those pieces together either in the NFL draft or even in free agency. But sometimes you have a loss that can be hard to overcome, and that weight may be the cruelest thing for the New England Patriots trying to get past what happened Sunday night versus Seattle. In 60 seconds, the Detroit Pistons are exactly what the NBA needs.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The line from the movie Cool Hand Luke is, "I don't like violence," and nobody should want that in an NBA game. And it was an ugly, ugly scene that happened on Monday night involving the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons. Both teams had 2 players removed from the premises with the Jacksons for getting in touch with their inner fight club, making an outer fight club. But the Detroit Pistons let it be known they want to be the new version of the Bad Boys. And if you're the NBA, don't run away from it. Don't ignore it. Embrace it. Everybody needs a villain. It's all good to have good guys here and good guys there, and we don't want that kind of element permeate any kind of sport. But sometimes it's good that a team wants to be a villain and embrace the villain. You know why? That makes more watchability for your sport if you're the NBA. So, yeah, we don't want the Pistons fighting, but bringing that fight and that image, that is not a bad thing, no matter what happened on Monday night in that Fight Club moment with the Hornets. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio's Freddie and Harry.
In 1987, the Bucks took on the world and changed basketball forever.
At stake, basketball supremacy in the United States.
Bucks versus the World, narrated by Charlie Behrens, is the new season of Behind the Bucks podcast, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. It's the untold story of the 1987 McDonald's Open, when the Bucks became the first NBA team to face the Soviet Union. Listen now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts. Welcome back to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
The final 2 minutes of Tuesday afternoon, the John Anderson Homer Hour. I'm not calling you, but I will send you golf balls. I will send you another dozen. I forgot to anyway. And I won't start sending you Pinnacle Softs instead of Pro V1s, because that would be appropriate.
I'll need updates on how you and the dog are doing.
The dog has moved out.
Okay, so you're good then.
The dog is back. So the dog is back with my son. Yes. Oh, baby, is that sweet. I've never been as happy in my life. Yes, Yorkie, the dog from hell. You can get one if you want, but understand what you're getting into. Sorry, I just took into you. Now you have a minute 15 left.
Fine.
I'm not saying anything. This is your final minute 15 seconds. Say whatever you want. Get a Craig Counsell in there. Take it away, sugar and salt.
That's why I can't do this show. One, I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm terrible. I don't know that I can fill a minute on the radio. You know, you've already heard it. You don't want to hear me do all the old saws that I'm mad at Craig Counsell.
Yes. We want
Brian
a recap.
Brian Anderson came into the class last Friday. VA joined us, so that was great. I made it known that I told him a story about going to Michigan City, Indiana, which you say is terrible.
He's here tonight, by the way. Brian Anderson is here tonight doing the game. It's a big deal on TNT.
Well, go ask him, because last time he had this big storyline about Lacey that's playing, and then the guy went 0 for 8.
Does he know you're 7-2.5? Because he's going to find out soon. Oh, baby, what a day.
Hey,
finish it now.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate this. The show has been easy. Like, you drive the whole thing. I just sit around in the sidecar, and it's been my pleasure. Hopefully we can find some time when I get this thing under control and revisit maybe as football season hits.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that, and I like that someone else knows who Don Hudson is.
Yeah, you're very nice, but let me just finish with this thought. Nice ain't good enough. You're John Anderson. I'm not. Next, Marquette basketball.
Things are improving on the roads after the morning commute. We are looking